Shri Javed Akhtar Saab is with us, and Dr. Ruchi Jaggi is going to be in conversation with him along with Samir Satija. I'm going to now invite Dr. Vidya Yerodikar, Pro-Chancellor, Symbiosis International University, to welcome our guest.
Thank you, Anita. And Javed, once again, welcome you to Symbiosis. In fact, I don't consider you as a guest at Symbiosis anymore. You're a part
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Symbiosis family, and more importantly, now you're an alumnus of Symbiosis, having received the DLIT from Symbiosis at the last convocation ceremony. This has been a wonderful 2-day discourse of the Symbiosis Literary Festival on account of the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee celebrations. Yesterday, we had erudite speakers ranging from Mr. Shashi Tharoor to Chetan Bhagat and the likes. And today in the morning, it was a really great academic treat with Shekhar Gupta, beginning his session on a very important topic called media trials. And I think what is now happening all over the television that we see, it's like a circus on Indian news channels. And therefore, that's what he discussed and did it beautifully well. And after which, of course, it was Pawan Verma, who's an author and a foreign service personnel who spoke extremely well on Hinduism. Yesterday, again, we had Rajdeep Sardesai, who spoke on the election story. So we've been having great talks. And now it is you who's going to speak on something so very important and relevant to a literary festival, which is the power of words. And of course, its impact on Indian cinema, whether it's the dialogues or whether it's the lyrics. And you, I mean, nobody better than you could have spoken on this wonderful topic. I still remember the first literary festival that you inaugurated. And I think that has been so auspicious that since then, we've been having excellent literary festivals. And I think with this pandemic and being compelled to have a virtual one, we have now started feeling that it's better to have a virtual literary festival because the reach is far more. And people like you who are so busy do not need to travel. You can just come on the camera and speak for an hour and continue doing your work. So it's, I think we'll continue doing these virtual literary festivals every year after year. So once again, I welcome you as a member of the Symbiosis family. Javedji, over to you, Anita.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dr. Ruchi, would you like to start the proceedings?
A very, very good afternoon to one and all. Heartiest welcome to our speaker for the session, Mr. Javed Akhtar. We were extremely enthralled by your session and the conversation, the delightful conversation during the Golden Jubilee lecture series, sir. And I think this is a sequel. This is a story that continues to unfold. For today's session, we have with us one of our former students who graduated from Symbiosis 8 years back, Samir Satija. Samir has been in love with words. He's a poet, attempting to be a lyricist. He's writing stories. And when Vidya ma'am mentioned to me, you would be, again, be a part of this literature festival, I could really not think of anyone else but him to carry forward a mesmerizing conversation, which would be a music to everyone's ears through this session. Mr. Javed Akhtar, a well-known poet and film lyricist and writer, is the son of Shri Janisar Akhtar, who was an Urdu poet and film lyricist, and Safia Akhtar, a teacher and writer. Mr. Akhtar belongs to a family lineage that can be traced back to 7 generations of writers. He did his schooling at the Cambridge School in Bhopal, Calvin Talukadar College in Lucknow, Minto Circle at Aligarh, and graduated from Safia College, Bhopal in 1964. And his body of work can be categorized under 4 distinct categories: scriptwriter, lyricist, poet, activist. He has won 5 national awards by the Government of India as the best lyricist, 3 of them in a row, which is an unprecedented achievement. He's also the winner of 15 Filmfare Awards, and his list of awards are also the Doctor of Letters conferred by Symbiosis International Deemed University in 2019, Lifetime Achievement Award by Times Litfest in 2019, Doctor of Letters by Jamia Hamdard University, Galib Award for Poetry in 2018, Sankat Mochan Shantidut Award in 2018, Hindi Akademi Shalaka Award in 2018, Sahitya Academy Award, Padma Bhushan, Indira Gandhi Award for National Integration, Padma Shri, and Doctorate of Letters by Pondicherry University in 2010. His first collection of poetry, Tarkash, is in its 21st edition in Hindi and 9th edition in Urdu. It has received rave reviews both as a book and as India's first audiobook. Actually, according to a recent survey done by a publishers organization, Tarkash is the most sold book of verses in the 60 years in India. Mr. Akhtar has been nominated to Rajya Sabha as Member of Parliament by the President of India in 2010. He is in fact the architect of the Copyright Amendment Bill passed by both houses of Indian Parliament, which after a long struggle has finally given copyright royalties to writers and music directors. Married to film actor Shabana Azmi, he also has two children, Zoya Akhtar, who is a writer-director, and Farhan Akhtar, who is an actor, singer, writer, director, and producer. It is our honor, sir, to welcome you to the Symbiosis Literature Festival. I also would like to now introduce the moderator of the session, Mr. Sameer Satija. Sameer has an MBA in Communication Management from Symbiosis Institute of Media and Communication, which he graduated from in 2012. And he says that this always comes in handy in the most unexpected and interesting ways for him. Thank you, Sameer, for accepting our invite to be in this conversation. But before I ask you to take it ahead, I acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Chancellor, Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, sir, who is here to say hello to Mr. Akhtar. Sir?
Namaste, sir. Namaste.
Namaste.
The more we hear you, the more we get inspired. Not only we, but all our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
Gracing this festival. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you
so
very
much.
Thank you.
Sameer, may I please request you to take the stage and take the conversation forward with Mr. Akhtar. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, ma'am. Thank you so much. And hello to Vidya ma'am and Majumdar sir as well. जावेद साहब, आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है और ये मेरी खुशनसीबी है कि आपके साथ मेरा नाम लिया गया. And I want to start by asking you a very basic question. We all know that cinema is a mix of many art forms, but sir, what is the purpose of cinema and does it change with time?
You see, cinema has many genres like documentary and so on, but ultimately all over the world, the mainstream cinema or the most popular cinema is one that tells stories. Now, stories are much older than cinema. Cinema is only one more vehicle, one more way, one more means to tell stories. And perhaps human being became human being, or Homo sapien entered some kind of civilization when he or she started telling stories and listening to stories. That is in our DNA. Story is our need like food, shelter, clothes, and story. We need stories. That makes us Homo sapiens, or human beings. So before the talkie, there were other ways, like there was theater in India. We had different kind of theater. We had Nautanki, we had Ram Leela, we had Krishna Leela, we had Jatra, then urban theater like Urdu Parsi theater and so on, that used to travel from city to city. And it was extremely popular. All forms of storytelling on the stage have always been very popular with Indians. And then came talkie cinema in early 30s. So ultimately, it is telling you stories. Yes, there are other kind of cinema also, but when we say cinema, we always think of cinema that is providing you fiction, that is providing you a story, images and icons. So that is our need.
Absolutely, sir. Also, talking about the power of words, I'd like your perspective on this. कि ज़बान फिल्मों की होती है या किरदारों की?
दोनों की. एक फिल्म अगर मराठी में बन रही है तो सारी फिल्म में कैरेक्टर्स मराठी बोलेंगे, बंगाली में बन रही है बंगाली बोलेंगे, लेकिन मराठी में सारे लोग तो एक मराठी नहीं बोलते, अलग अलग कैरेक्टर्स अलग अलग तरह से बोलते हैं. अगर आप एक यूनिवर्सिटी का प्रोफेसर या वाइस चांसलर लेंगे तो वो मराठी कुछ और बोलता है, और अगर आप एक किसान को लेंगे तो वो कुछ और बोलता है. डिफरेंट होती हैं, इंफीरियर सुपीरियर की बात नहीं है, लेकिन अलग अलग स्टाटा के लोग, अलग अलग इंटेलेक्चुअल लेवल के लोग, अलग अलग सोशल बैकग्राउंड के लोग, एक ही जबान तरह तरह से बोली जाती है, उसके अंदर बड़ी वेरिएशन है। तो एक बार आपने ये तय कर लिया कि इस लैंग्वेज में आप फिल्म बना रहे हैं या प्ले लिख रहे हैं, तो उसमें फिर उन कैरेक्टर्स से हम लॉयल रहना चाहिए हमें, कि ऐसा ना हो कि कैरेक्टर जो है वो तो है एक स्ट्रीट अर्चिन और बोल हो रहा है एक यूनिवर्सिटी के प्रोफेसर की तरह, दैट विल बी बैड राइटिंग। वो बात कुछ भी कहे, लेकिन उसकी वोकेबलरी, उसका मेटाफर, उसकी सिमिलीज जो है वो उसके एनवायरनमेंट और उसके कल्चर से आनी चाहिए।
जी सर। Sir, like you said that the talkie film, the first talkie film, Alam Ara, came in early 30s. It was 1931. So it's been 89 years now. From Alam Ara to today, how has language evolved in Hindi films, and what have been the major influences?
When we started, what was the example we had? What could we follow? So we followed that, as I mentioned to you, there was something like called Urdu Parsi Theatre. It was a mobile theatre, and they were big companies. Now, they were called Urdu Parsi Theatre by the virtue of the fact that most of the owners were Parsis and the actors were Parsi, because perhaps in conservative Muslim society or Hindu society, working on the stage was not a very respectable vocation for most of them. So actors were also, many actors were Parsi. Sohrab Modi Sahab, you may have heard his name, was the remnants of that period. So, and when we entered talkie, we inherited the complete structure of Urdu Parsi theatre, which itself had taken the structure from Nautanki or Ram Leela, or with certain influence of Victorian plays. So there were acts like Victorian plays and a separate comedy line and so on and so forth. It was all there before Indian cinema got voice or sound. So we inherited that. So because there was no other reference point, so if you see the early pictures of say 30s, early 40s, the language was very theatrical. It was very heavy and dialogue heavy. You see, I don't know why and how it happened that saying less in as many words as possible was considered virtue. Now it has taken 180 degrees that saying maximum and minimum words is the virtue. But that time, if you take one point and you can give similes after similes and examples after examples and rhetoric after rhetoric, it was considered to be powerful. But with time that reduced, that kept on reducing. And today when we see film written by young people like you, so we see the dialogue is almost real. There is no theatrics involved. It is the language that you hear in the street or homes or in inner courtyards of the house and so on. So it is becoming more and more real. Although sometimes at the price of the dramatic effect, sometimes, not always. But it has totally changed. If we see old pictures, I mean, there are long dialogue. The character stands up and speaks. Everybody is almost ready for a soliloquy all the time. That has gone. So the rhetoric is gone.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. सर, मेरा अगला सवाल ये है कि आपने और सलीम साहब ने हमें एंग्री यंग मैन दिया था in the 1970s, and you have mentioned in the past that कैसे इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद और पार्टीशन के बाद 70s आते आते हमसे जो वादे किए गए थे वो पूरे नहीं हुए, और उसके बाद एक सेंस ऑफ डिsillusionment हो गया था, where the common man was lost and the system was not performing as it was expected to perform. मेरा आपसे सवाल ये है कि आज वो एंग्री यंग मैन कहाँ है?
Angry man, young man is emerging. I can see that there is some kind of discontent in the society. There are ample reasons for that. But gradually, but surely, it had not, Angry Young Man had not appeared and had become an icon overnight. It was 70s. After 47, we got independence. For a very long time, uh, I don't think Angry Young Man would have been accepted if you had made a picture about the Angry Young Man in 55, 56, during Nehruvian times. I don't think he would have been accepted, and that's why he wasn't there. But it took almost 20 years, 25 years. When they entered 70s, then there was some kind of discontent in the society because of many reasons. In that atmosphere, gradually a vigilante appeared. Although now I'm talking of the socio-political, economic reasons, when we were writing this script, we had no idea at all. No idea that this character is socially or politically or economically or historically relevant. We had no idea whatsoever. We were writing stories and we were fortunate that we were thinking, or our mindset was in sync with many other people in the society. We were the part of the society. We were not looking at the society and thinking, what do they want? So that would have been very patronizing and we would have written bad scripts. But we were the part of the same population. We were breathing that same air and we were thinking like most of the people were thinking. So in all innocence and unawareness and unintentionally, we wrote the scripts which were relevant, which were in sync with their thinking. And that's why they worked. So it will happen. You can see in our films, I have great respect for today's writers and directors, and I think our future is much brighter than it was past. I'm quite convinced about it because nowadays you have Article 15. Recently, a film has come, OTT, Scam 92. So you can see a kind of new awareness and maturity in filmmakers and writers. The kind of writing you people are doing is extremely impressive because you are effective but not false. You are not taking any undue support of rhetoric and big words. You are speaking in as simple language as possible, but you genuinely mean it. That's why it works.
And I think the honesty that a writer or a filmmaker brings on board, where you are being honest to yourself and the society around you. And like you said, that you are not making a film that is required by the society as per your understanding. I think as long as the integrity and honesty is...
Then you are prescribing a film. You are not, writers are not supposed to give prescriptions.
Prescriptions, correct. Absolutely, sir. My next question to you, sir, is a lot of people complain about the language in today's films and the lyrics of the songs that they have problems with. Two things. First, what do you think about today's Hindi film songs and their lyrics? And secondly, what do you have to say to the purists who say that the language is not pure?
First of all, let us not paint all the films with single brush or single color. There are good films and bad films. And this is true of any era, any period, any decade. There have been many bad films in 60s, 50s, 70s, 80s, and there was some good films. What happens with time, you forget the bad films and indifferent films, and you remember only the good picture. And you think, oh, that was the golden era. But his so-called golden era, there were many indifferent and very substandard films were made. Nobody remembers them. So this will happen in this period also. After 20 years, you will remember the films which are good and you'll forget the mediocres or below mediocre pictures. Language, yes, but language is not only the problem of film industry. Language is the problem of society. The kind of language you hear on TV, the kind of language you hear in political speeches, the kind of language you hear on in offices, in college campuses, everywhere. The language is either I should say, for a better need of better word, I'll say either humble, it is very weak, or coarse. What has happened, and it is not the fault of the young man or young woman. in last so many decades, our priority list did not have language. It was not a part of a priority. Literature, poetry. That is how you learn language. Through literature, through reading great writers of any language, reading poetry or appreciating poetry. That is how you learn subtleties and layering of language. That was not the priority of our peers, our elders, our educational system. So it became totally, it got marginalized, language. You see, any emphasis on language was neither at home nor in the college or school. धंधे की कुछ बात करो, कुछ पैसा जोड़ो. एक लाइन हिंदी कवि की है, धंधे की कुछ बात करो, कुछ पैसा जोड़ो. तो this had become the ultimate goal of education. That our child should get education which will give him or her a good economic support, ultimately. Will get a good job.
Employability.
Now, employability. If this is the basic reason for education, so the rest of the things start looking frivolous. Classical Indian classical music, Indian classical dances, Indian classical poetry, or poets like old poets like Meera or Sur or Kabir or poets like Ghalib or Mir. ये इनसे पढ़ के आपको क्या? What will you get? You'll get a good job if you know what Ghalib has written. और if you remember तुलसी के दोहे आपको याद हैं, तो उससे आपको कौन सी कॉर्पोरेट है जो है कहेगा अरे इसको रख लो, इसे तुलसी के बारे में पता है. तो ये तो बेकार काम है. तो आपने एक अपना बहुत बड़ा कल्चरल जो हेरिटेज था उसको किनारे कर दिया
जी.
वो अब आपको दिखाई देता है जब लैंग्वेज सिमटती है. Listen, when we talking today, we are talking of importance of words. Words are not thoughts, but like bricks are not houses. But when you make a house, you need bricks. And the more bricks you have, the bigger house you'll be able to make, and more intricate architecture is possible only with the facility of all kind of bricks. So if you have enough vocabulary at your disposal, it doesn't mean that you are a thinker, but you will be able to have nuanced ideas clearly in your mind and then on the paper or in your speech only if you have enough words. If you don't have enough words, then it will be very difficult for you to think clearly because you don't have many words. You may feel. For feeling, you don't need words. But thinking, you need words. You think in words. And the more words you have, the more clearly you will be able to think.
Absolutely, sir. That's correct. सर एक और मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है कि उर्दू लिखने वाले और पढ़ने वाले, यहाँ मेरा जिक्र मतलब मैं स्क्रिप्ट के दरम्यान इसमें कर रहा हूँ कॉन्टेक्स्ट में, तो उर्दू लिखने वाले और पढ़ने वालों की तादाद कम हुई है, पर हिंदी सिनेमा में उर्दू और हिंदुस्तानी, जो कि हिंदी और उर्दू हमारी फिल्में हिंदुस्तानी में ही प्राइमरीली लिखी जाती हैं, मगर हिंदी सिनेमा में उर्दू और हिंदुस्तानी आज भी बखूबी इस्तेमाल हो रही है. इसकी वजह क्या है?
देखिए जो जा रहा है और जो कम हो रहा है unfortunately, script, Urdu's script is borrowed from Persian, which was the lingua franca of the elite that time, not only in India, but at many places in Central Asia and so on. And even Maharashtra. You see, in fact, in many courts, in Marathi courts, the official language was Persian and all the correspondence used to be done in Persian. And not many people know that Peshwa is a pure Persian word. So it was there, the script was available. What is Urdu? Now what is Urdu? Is it some branch of Persian? No, it is not. We have only borrowed the script, like English or French or German have borrowed Latin script, which is originally Italian. But obviously English is not Latin, or German is not Latin, or French is not Latin, but the script is Latin. Their script is Latin. So script is not language. You can write Punjabi in Devanagari. People do write Punjabi in Devanagari. They write in Urdu script also, in Persian script. They write in Gurmukhi also. There are 3 different scripts in which Punjabi is written in the world. It remains Punjabi. Script is not. So if this Persian script that Urdu uses is not the language, then what is the language? Language is not even its vocabulary. You see, I give this example quite often because I have to talk most of the time in the hall. I'll say about this hall, ye hall air conditioned. I have used 4 words. Ye hall air conditioned. And the most important words of this four-worded sentence is hall air conditioned. Am I speaking English? No. I have used 2 English words, but I am not speaking English because of ye and hai. These 2 have made it Hindustan. Now, what is the syntax or grammar, which is the language of Urdu or Hindi? They are the same. So, the syntax is the same. Both of them are born out of a dialect. Dialect is a language that doesn't have a script. Khari Boli, which was spoken in, say, some parts of Haryana, Delhi, Western UP, and so on. This dialect, some people, because this script was available, Persian, started writing. The dialect was written in Persian script. It happened in South also. It was in South in Hyderabad, Deccan. It was called Deccani. In the beginning, this language, which is called Urdu today, had its name as Hindvi. Hindvi Zabane Urdu Mohalla. Now with time, this Hindvi and Zabane and Mohalla, all of them dropped and Urdu remained. So otherwise, in the beginning, it was called Hindvi, India's language. So दुनिया में अगर कहीं उर्दू बोली जाती है तो वो लोग या तो इस सब कॉन्टिनेंट के हैं या उनका सब कॉन्टिनेंट से कोई रिश्ता है, वरना और कहीं बोलते नहीं कोई. यही बोलता है, हमारा डायस्पोरा बोलता है, पाकिस्तानी जो कल तक इंडियन थे, ये तो 70-72 साल की बात है, वरना तो इंडिया ही था ना वो, तो वो बोलते हैं. अच्छा, फिर इसमें बहुत सारे डिस्टॉर्शन हुए, लाइक 2 nation theory, which was totally illogical. I'll say it was illogical, on which basis this country was divided and broken and wounded, was an absurd theory. Nations are not made of religion. If this would have been true, whole of Europe would have been one country. Whole of Middle East would have been one country. Whole of Latin America would have been one country. All of them are Roman Catholic. Nations are not made of religion. Religion can be a part of it, like culture. They say Islamic culture. I don't believe there is anything like Islamic culture. They say Hindu culture, Christian culture. There is nothing like Hindu culture or Christian culture or Islamic culture. They are different parts. Culture is from the soil, from the land. In India, it's such a huge country. In different parts, there are many cultures. You can't call them, all of them are Hindu culture. In this country, there are Muslims who live in India. The Tamilian Muslim has one culture. A North Indian, Lucknow Muslim has another culture. A Muslim in Assam will have some other culture. Neither religion can make neither a nation nor a culture. It is religion is highly overrated. Religion is with you for, if you are really very religious, for 15 to 20 minutes in 24 hours. Rest of the time, it is language. It is the secular tradition. It is the secular business. You think if somebody has a, say, grocery shop, so a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu salesman, they sell their vegetables in a different manner. They have different vegetables. No. They charge differently. No. The rest of the life is totally secular. It is unnecessarily, yeah, so religion is one of the most overrated thing in the world. Besides being absurd, it is overrated also. So this is what happened with Urdu. How can language belong to a religion? Languages belong to region. But it was declared that in North India, South India was totally indifferent to it. It was not their problem, Urdu. In North India, it was declared that it is a Muslim language, Islamic language. As a matter of fact, it is exactly the opposite. You see, all the languages in the world, when they start poetry, and being a poet, you would know better than me. In the beginning, all the classical languages, if you look at them, they had hymns, they had prayers in poetry. And gradually it came out of the prayer house. And then it imbibed and included other topics and love. And uske baad, after many centuries, social issues and so on. Urdu is one language in the world, to my best knowledge, which was anti-religion, anti-fundamentalism from day one. It was the expression, Urdu poetry, to begin was the expression of the liberal, of the left of the center, of the free thinker. Right from the beginning. When in 1798, a gentleman in Delhi, his name was, I'm forgetting his name at the moment, I'll remember it in a while. He translated, as late as in 1798, translated Quran in Urdu. All the big muftis gave fatwa against him. That how dare he translate a holy book in this heathen language. And what is interesting, these fundamentalists are similar people from any. When Bible was translated in English, same thing had happened. When Ramayana was translated by Tulsidas, again the same thing happened. All the priests had gone against Tulsidas. How dare he translate Ramayana in this language of Awadhi, the language of the downtrodden. They don't like it. And it is true of Bible, it's true of Quran, it's true of Ramayana. So
there are certain similarities there then. Religions have some similarity, that is in that sense.
Now this language was the language of the common people. Now sometimes people think that it was patronized by the court. I don't think Akbar or Jahangir were even aware that there is a language in the world that is called Urdu. This awareness came at the tail end of Mughal empire when it was no longer an empire. As there was a saying, Badshah te Shah Alam as Dilli ta Palam. Shah Alam jo Badshah tha, he was in the same lineage. कि इसकी हुकूमत दिल्ली से पालम तक है. After 17th century, जो अपने सही रंग में आई उर्दू, although it started almost 700 years ago, मगर 17th century में उर्दू ने अपनी पूरी ताकत दिखाई और वो पॉपुलर हुई. It is people's language. You cannot speak one sentence in Urdu without using Hindi. One sentence. And they have same grammar. There is no difference with the grammar of these two languages. There cannot be any other example in the world where two languages have exactly the same grammar. It's not possible. So I don't know what kind of two languages are these. It is the script which makes them different, and then you mentioned the purity of language. What is the purity of language? I don't understand. On one hand, I look at Oxford University dictionary, Oxford Dictionary. With every new volume, in the preface, they tell you that this time they have taken 20, 50, 80, 100 new words. Now they have entered the dictionary, so they are given total credibility that they are part of English now. And every time they are increasing their vocabulary. We believe that to save the language, we have to take out words. We have to throw out words. And that will be the purity of language. How many words do we throw out? It is like taking an onion and start peeling it, that I don't want any chilka, I want real onion. So actually these layers are onion. And it has not happened in one day. It has taken time that we have with the syntax is the grammar is then we take words from all over the world and use them in our own way, not the way they use it. Now, hawa is a very common word, is a Persian word. लेकिन हवाएं is not Persian. हवाओं पे लिख दो, ये हवाओं जो है ये पर्शियन नहीं
जी।
किसी पर्शियन को हवाएं नहीं मालूम है या हवाओं नहीं मालूम, वो हमारा बनाया हुआ है। हमारी सिंटेक्स में, हमारी ग्रामर में प्लूरल कैसे होता है, वो जिस तरह से प्लूरल होता है हम वो वर्ड भी लेके उसे उसी तरह से प्लूरल करते हैं। अमीर इज अ अरबिक वर्ड, लेकिन अमीरी ये हमारा, उसको हमने एडजेक्टिव बना दिया,
एडजेक्टिव
अमीरी। हाँ, या अमीरों, अब अमीरों प्लूरल हमारा है, उनका प्लूरल अमीरों नहीं है, उनका प्लूरल है उमरा। हम उमरा नहीं बोलते, हम अमीरों कहते हैं। तो हमने वर्ड बाहर से लिए, हमने पुर्तगाली से वर्ड लिए हैं, हमने इंग्लिश से वर्ड लिए हैं, हमने कहाँ की लैंग्वेज से वर्ड लिए हैं। और अब कमरा इज एन इटालियन वर्ड, तो क्या करें, निकाल दे कमरा वर्ड, इटालियन है। बाल्टी इज अ फ्रेंच वर्ड, तो बाल्टी ना बोला करें। अरे भाई जितने वर्ड आए हैं आने दो, और ये खुद ब कोई जबरदस्ती थोड़ी आए, ये हमारे इस्तेमाल से आए हैं, हमने सीखे हैं, डाले हैं, अपना इस्तेमाल किया है उन्हें, और जितने आते रहेंगे उतनी हमारी बड़ी लाइफ होती जाएगी। मैं तो सोचता हूँ, ये पता नहीं ये आप लोग कर सकते हैं जो यूनिवर्सिटीज है वो कर सकते, स्टार्ट अ कोर्स ऑफ हिंदुस्तानी, जिसकी बात गांधी जी करते थे, और सारा हिंदी लिटरेचर और सारा उर्दू लिटरेचर आप देवनागरी में लिखिए। देवनागरी इज द मोस्ट साइंटिफिक स्क्रिप्ट इन द वर्ल्ड। ये एक स्क्रिप्ट है जिसमें जो लिखा जाता है वही आप पढ़ सकते, उसे मिसप्रोनाउंस नहीं कर सकते पॉसिबली। जो साउंड है वो वैसी की वैसी लिखी जाएगी, वैसी की वैसी पढ़ी जाएगी। ये देवनागरी इतना साइंटिफिक, आप इसमें लिखिए दोनों लैंग्वेजेस के सारे वर्ड, दोनों लैंग्वेजेस का सारा लिटरेचर आप हिंदुस्तानी के नाम से बच्चों को पढ़ाइए। जिनको अलग हिंदी रखनी है, जिन्हें अलग उर्दू रखनी है वो रखे, हम उसके खिलाफ नहीं है भाई, आपकी मर्जी है। आप अगर एक सिर्फ हिंदी पोएट्स को पढ़ाना चाहते हैं, आप सिर्फ उर्दू स्क्रिप्ट और उर्दू पोएट्री पढ़ाना चाहते हैं, आप कीजिए, यू आर फ्री टू डू दैट। हम चाहते हैं कि एक हिंदुस्तानी हो जिसमें इनकी सारी वोकेबलरी, सारी पोएट्री, सारा फिक्शन, सारी रिसर्च एक जगह पे हो। क्या रज?
I think बहुत अच्छा सुझाव है, and I'm sure Ruchi ma'am will take note of it and they can have a discussion between Vidya ma'am and Ruchi ma'am. सर मेरा अगला सवाल आपसे ये है, टॉकिंग अबाउट कोर्सेज, लाइक यू सेड दैट एक कोर्स ऐसा शुरू होना चाहिए, ये पढ़ाया जाना चाहिए। मैं मैम से बात करता रहता हूँ इसके बारे में कि लिरिक्स को हम अगर पोएट्री और लिटरेचर की तरह देखें तो क्या ये सही नहीं है, क्योंकि हमारी मैक्सिमम पोएट्री हिंदी सॉन्ग्स के रूप में बाहर आई है, तो उसको पोएट्री का दर्जा दिया जाए और उसको एज लिटरेचर देखा जाए। इस पर आपका क्या ख्याल है?
मैं एक आप ब्रिटिश नेशनल म्यूजियम जाएंगे तो वहां पर बहुत बड़ा है वो, तो कहाँ पूरा रोमन सिविलाइजेशन, उनके जो रेलिक्स है, उनकी जो चीजें हैं, इजिप्शियन सिविलाइजेशन, ग्रीक सिविलाइजेशन, क्या क्या सामान है उनके पास। हिंदुस्तान का बहुत सामान है। एक हॉल है जो फुटबॉल ग्राउंड से भी थोड़ा सा बड़ा है, उस हॉल में सिर्फ राइटर्स के मैन्युस्क्रिप्ट रखे और उनके पर्सनल नोट्स, रफ कॉपीज, उनके छोटे छोटे जो उन्होंने लेटर भेजे हैं वो है उनकी हैंडराइटिंग। राइट फ्रॉम शेक्सपियर, ब्लेक, टेनिसन, बेकन, शेले, कीट्स, वर्ड्सवर्थ, बायरन, ऑस्कर वाइल्ड, जॉन बर्नार्ड शॉ, यू नेम एनीबॉडी, उसका वहां पर आपको हैंडराइटिंग। सेम हॉल ऐसे ही एक शोकेस में पॉल मैकार्टनी के हाथ का लिखा हुआ यस्टरडे, जो गाना है यस्टरडे, लव वाज सच इजी गेम टू प्ले, उसी हॉल में वही रखा उन लोग के साथ। That shows two things. One, that they are not judgmental, कि अगर ये सब पॉप सॉन्ग का था तो ये तो खराब है। Two, the nation has enough self-confidence to accept that we like it. और उन्हें ऐसा नहीं लगता कि हम ये कहेंगे तो हमारे इंटेलेक्चुअल पे क्वेश्चन मार्क लग जाएगा, हमारे इंटेलेक्ट पे। हमारे यहाँ प्रॉब्लम ये है कि हमारे यहाँ जो इंटेलेक्चुअल है वो कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं, वो डरता है कि मैं ये बोलूंगा तो लोग बाकी कहें क्या बात कर रहे, शर्म नहीं आती तो ऐसे बात कर। सच ये है कि मैं आपको साहिर के 50 गाने ऐसे बता सकता हूँ, शैलेंद्र के ऐसे 50 गाने बता सकता हूँ जो प्योर लिटरेचर है
जी।
और आपको बहुत सारी पोएट्री सुना सकता हूँ जो सो कॉल्ड पोएट्री है जो इंतहाई फटीचर है। It is not the genre that will decide whether it is good or bad. It is the quality of that writing. इन लोगों के जो गीत हैं वो ऐसे हैं कि उन्हें गाने की जरूरत नहीं है, आप उसे ऐसे पोएम की तरह सुना सकते हैं और सामने वाला सुन के वाह वाह करेगा। मगर आज हम कहें कि शैलेंद्र को हम ऐसे रखेंगे तो अरे साहब क्या बात कर रहे हैं आप, कहाँ ये बड़े बड़े पोएट्स में, ये तो फिल्म के राइटर थे भाई, आनंद बख्श। चलिए शैलेंद्र का भी तो फिर एक लिबरल बैकग्राउंड था, इप्टा और ये वो, साहिर का लिटरेरी पोजीशन भी थी। मैं आनंद बख्शी बात करूं, वो प्योरली अ फिल्म राइटर। आनंद बख्शी के मैं आपको 100 गाने से बताऊं कि जो लिटरेचर है आनंद बख्शी ने इंडिफरेंट राइटिंग भी की है। अब आप हजारों गाने लिखेंगे तो सब तो अच्छे नहीं होंगे, लेकिन अगर आप उनके अच्छे गाने निकालेंगे कि भाई ये कमाल के गाने, तो उनकी भी लिस्ट कोई छोटी लिस्ट नहीं है, बहुत बड़ी लिस्ट। हम ये बात समझते नहीं। मैं तो ऐसा यकीन समझता हूँ कि एक वक्त आएगा कि लोग आनंद बख्शी पे पीएचडी करेंगे, मैं बिलीव करता हूँ ऐसा। ये लोग तो जाने दीजिए, चलिए शैलेंद्र का दूसरा भी एक स्टेटस था, शाहिर का एक दूसरा भी स्टेटस था, आनंद बख्शी वो प्योरली अ फिल्म राइटर, जिसका लिटरेचर से डायरेक्ट कोई संबंध नहीं था, यही था जो था, अच्छा या बुरा। मगर हमें वो सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है कि हम ये कह सके कि ये गीत तो बहुत अच्छा लिखा हुआ, ये तो कमाल है। अरे साहब फिल्मी गाने की तारीफ कर रहे हैं, तो हमें तो खुद ही अभी अपनी परेशानी है, हमें हिम्मत ही नहीं है चीजों को अप्रिशिएट करने की, ये प्रॉब्लम है।
जी मैम, डू वी हैव टाइम फॉर वन मोर क्वेश्चन?
Sameer, do you think that we should give the opportunity to a few students, क्योंकि 10 ही मिनट रह गए हैं और कम से कम 5 स्टूडेंट्स हैं, तो अगर
sure, please.
हाँ, अच्छा,
please proceed.
थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू सर। ऐसा लगता है कि बस आपको सुनते ही रहो, बट जस्ट सो दैट लाइक द स्टूडेंट्स हैव बीन जस्ट वेटिंग टू आस्क दीज क्वेश्चंस, सो आई विल बी वेरी फास्ट विद इट। Ramanan, what Ramanan asks is that there are many times when you actually enter a creative block and it gets really hard to get out of it. Please share your thoughts on how do you get yourself out from a creative block?
I think at one time or another, every writer faces this. And I have also faced it many times, not once. I believe that there are many people who could be very good writers and they had the talent. But what happens, this block, so-called block, discourages them. Or what happens when you start writing, particularly in your earlier career, you write a page and when you look at it, you hate it. Kya maine likha hai? What I was thinking and what have I written? It's so bad. I don't think I have enough talent. So I shouldn't try it. They get demoralized. That is wrong. If you don't like what you have written, throw the paper, start writing again. Again, you will dislike it, throw the paper, you will write again. And gradually through these attempts, you will get more and more clarity. And gradually your mind and your hand and your pen will be in one line. They'll get connected. And slowly, it takes a little time. You know, work, first of all, any work, competence, if you want to read the competence, it rubs your nose on the carpet. When you, even a veteran writer, a senior writer who has done so much work, goes with this confidence, oh, now I know how to do it. Gradually he realizes, if he is honest to himself, that he is not able to do it well. And gradually this humility comes in, that I hope I'm able to do it. Work rubs your nose on the carpet, makes you humble, and gradually you get the grip. So this area should not demoralize you or stop you from this endeavor. You should keep on trying, and then slowly it will come in your hand. And then this prowess, this control will keep on increasing. And at a juncture will come when you will become the reader or the audience, and you will see that what is happening, and you will feel that there is somebody else in you who is writing and you are reading it and you are watching what is happening. That's a very blissful moment, but it doesn't come very easily. So don't get demoralized. If you feel you have not written right, throw the paper, try it again. Again you feel that, throw it, write it again. Keep on writing. Don't get demoralized. And gradually you will get the grip.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Mohit Sachdeva has the next question. Mohit, would you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah. Thank you, good afternoon, Javed sir.
Good afternoon.
In your style, I would like to greet you. Good afternoon, Akhtar Sahab. And sir, in your book, Khwab Ke Gaon Mein, in the very first page, I would like to quote, मैं नास्तिक हूँ, मेरा नाम जावेद अख्तर है, मेरा कोई मजहबी यकीन नहीं है, and आध्यात्मिकता पर मेरा कोई विश्वास नहीं है. Sir, I would like you to express like your opinion on religion, religiosity and culture, since you mentioned these lines in your book.
As a matter of fact, I'll invite you to listen to a conversation between me and Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins is perhaps one of the most respected and known, internationally known intellectual of the world. He was a professor in Oxford University, and he has written a lot of literature, a lot of books, like God Delusion. One of the bestsellers of Richard Dawkins are God Delusion, where he has written about this idea of God, how it came to human being, why it is nurtured so carefully, and why even today human being needs God. And he is an atheist, obviously, a rationalist. So there is an institution called Center for Inquiry in US. It is perhaps the biggest institution of its own kind. They encourage scientific, rational, logical thinking. They encourage different societies, different people to come out of superstitions and what you call andhavishwas and beliefs which are totally unscientific or irrational or illogical, and so on. They have one award, Center of Inquiry, that they have named after Richard Dawkins, Richard Dawkins Award. For the first time, since this award has been given every year, this year it has been given to me. And on 24th, I'll send the detail to Vidyaji, and Vidyaji can give it to the students. I have a discussion, long discussion, and then after that a Q&A on this topic that you have asked. And what are my thinking? What is my thinking? What is his thinking? We will talk about it. So you will get it in detail because it's an hour-and-a-half conversation on this very topic that you have asked. I'll tell you that so many times people have asked me, why are you an atheist? And I tell them because I think. Simple reason, I think. If you will, you see, people are very interesting. You know, if you have to keep a driver, you ask him 10 questions. Where were you a driver before? Which car you had driven? What was your salary? Do you come on Sundays or you take a break? on Sunday. What are your other demands? Do you want a quarter, or you will live at home? At what time in the morning you will come, and so on. Same goes for the cook. 20 questions. If you keep a cook, you keep a God, and don't ask a question. Ask him, where were you before? What have you done for people who were your followers? Have you helped them ever? Have you saved them from tsunami, or from hunger, or from corona? And because during corona, we had gone to your house, whether it was a mosque or a church or a temple, but your house was closed. You were not there. There was a lock on your door. So when we needed you, you weren't there. I have seen human beings saving God's houses and dying for it. I've never seen God saving people's houses. So what will I do with this God?
That is such a beautiful response, sir. I am afraid we are really short on time, and because of the paucity of time, there were 3 more questions, and I'm sure those students are going to feel very, very bad. But please forgive me. And
let's do one thing.
Right, sir.
Give me one more question. So one is at least child, please. One is student.
Sure,
also,
sir. Then
I also have to go, but doesn't matter.
Yes.
Because it
Sure.
is from the students, one question.
Sure, sir. Certainly. Thank you so much. Sia Rigade, she's an undergraduate student, so I specifically would like to take her question. Sia, please go ahead and ask your question. Beta, you will have to unmute. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, Javed.
Good afternoon.
My question was that artists frequently use what happens around them for inspiration. And nowadays we are constantly bombarded with news, sights, sounds, and so much more. So how do you filter out the unnecessary information and focus on what inspires you?
Yeah, I genuinely believe that no information is unnecessary. My friends laugh at me sometimes. They say कि तुमको तो कुछ बीमारी है information की, कि तुम्हें जो भी information मिलती है तुम ले लेते हो. You want to know everything, which is not possible. But in this effort, one learns something. No information is useless. Someday it will help you. Somewhere it will be of relevance. So information तो खराब होती ही नहीं, गलत होती ही नहीं. Misinformation गलत होती है, information नहीं. Because ultimately information always gives you some right perspective about other things also. Filter करने का ये है कि whatever is important to human race, human being, irrespective of his caste, creed, gender, religion, faith, whatever is good or important, or on the other side, harmful, that is very important. That is important. And one has to think about it, and one has to, neutrality is wrong. Because if you are neutral, you are on the side of the oppressor. You have to have, it is not only your right, but your duty also, to have an opinion about anything which is wrong or anything which is right, and have the courage to express your opinion.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. And I'm sure Sia would have been delighted to ask you this question. But what a mesmerizing session it was, like always. And I don't know how this 1 hour just flies away every time we have you over. And I hope that Vidya ma'am continues to create these opportunities for all of us to hear you more and more.
Please recommend my name to her. She may not get fed up. She may not get fed up with me.
Not at all. Not at all.
Never.
Sir, you spoke about doing a PhD on Anand Bakshi. In fact, I invited Samir because Samir had had expressed to me his desire of doing a PhD on your work. So it's just so beautiful that how you had this conversation and it all fell in place. So thank you, Samir, for being here and steering this conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Sir, thank you for saying that religion is overrated. Thank you for saying that writers are not supposed to be prescribing stories. Also, thank you for saying that religion does not make cultures and nations, but language does. But you need to know language, you need to know words, because the more you know them, the more would be the nuance in your thought. The binary of weak versus coarse was something that was so beautifully brought out by you in your talk. You talked about how literature and poetry was not a priority, still doesn't seem to be a priority. And thank you for telling us to start a course in Hindustani. I'm sure my Vice Chancellor, my Pro-Chancellor are listening to you, right? And thank you for being that ever-inspiring figure for us, who continues to tell us that if you have it right here, you have it right, in your life. So thank you for being that constant force. We look forward to many more sessions with you in the context of so many things that we try and attempt to do at Symbiosis. Thank you for gracing the Symbiosis Literature Festival. I cannot thank you enough for your time, for your attention, and for your involvement in our event. Thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure. My honor.